Today we confront our first case, the horrifying Hobbesian war of all against all in Syria today, a war that's killing more than 5,000 human beings every month. Over the past 2.5 years, what began as a peaceful uprising against a brutal authoritarian Assad regime in March 2011 has transformed itself into a full-scale civil war that has claimed the lives of more than 100,000 people and forced actually millions, 6 million to the current estimate, children, women, and men from their homes. When we read statistics like 5,000 dead or millions displaced, it's easy to forget that each one of these Syrians is a person, just like you or me. I try to remember Gandhi's advice to think of these victims one by one.
To intervene or not to intervene? That's the question, and the question the administration is still facing. And if to intervene more aggressively, then by what means? With American troops, even after the bitter lessons of Iraq and of Afghanistan? With arms shipped to the rebels, even though it's hard to figure out which rebels to give those arms to? With diplomatic pressure, even though the United States has very limited leverage? These are the questions that are at the core of the case that we're going to be doing today, and that will serve as our vehicle for forcing us all to confront a really damnable choice, a choice President Obama has been struggling with for the past 2.5 years and really has been unsatisfied with all the answers he's come up with.
And it is a damnable choice because he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. And what this case will force us all to recognize is, so are we.
So in the Syrian case assignment, you're cast as a new staff member at the National Security Council, and you'll be reporting directly to the recently appointed National Security Advisor, Susan Rice. Now, she wants from you a memo or an outline that identifies 3 alternative strategic options for meeting the challenge in Syria to protect and to advance American national interests. Now, one of those options should be your best description of current U.S. policy. The second, your best shot at a military intervention. And the third one should be a strategic initiative that is non-military and harnesses other instruments of American power.
In trying to do a strategic options memo, for each of the 3 options, you want to give the best version of that you can manage, so that the reader of the memo doesn't know in advance, oh, he really favors this one or she really favors that one. So in the segments on Syria that follow, we've designed them to try to help you think about this assignment. For those of you who are in the Harvard campus classroom, these will serve as pointers as you complete the readings on Syria that are up on this website, and as you prepare your first 3-page strategic options memo. The memo will be graded, but the good news is that this is a practice memo. Your grade on this is a paper just as feedback to you. It won't be counted in calculating your final grade in the class. For those of you who are on the web and who want to apply for one of the 500 slots in the Harvard online classroom, in which you'll have the opportunity to participate in discussion groups led by us as faculty and as the teaching assistants, to interact with each other and with students in the Harvard classroom on campus, and to receive more personalized feedback on your own assignments. Your answer to the Syrian case will be a key part of your application for one of these 500 slots. So the specifics about the format, the length, the deadline are all on the course page. You need to read that carefully if you're interested in the course.
Now, for those of you who are interested in sampling this Harvard course, but don't have the time or necessarily the inclination to do the required reading or submit all of the weekly written assignments, then the segments that follow will, we hope, serve to get your juices flowing, that make you think about these cases, and then to ask yourself if you're letting your own pre-existing thoughts on the issue get in the way of strategic analysis, about thinking about this problem anew. In the segments that follow, we'll cover 10 key questions.
Why doesn't somebody stop the killing?
What's the United States doing and saying?
Where and what is Syria? Locating Syria on the strategic chessboard.
If the U.S. intervened successfully to prevent mass slaughter in Libya and in Bosnia in recent years, why not in Syria today? Is a Syrian life worth less than a Bosnian life or a Libyan life?
Good question. Next we ask, what about the Syrian battlefield at this point? Who's fighting who?
How did we get to this point, historically and strategically?
Next, U.S. national interests. Why should Americans in particular care? What should they care about? What should they care about more than other things that they care about?
What military options are available in a world in which no one wants to repeat the experiences in Iraq or even necessarily Afghanistan?
Next, what are other instruments of U.S. power that we could use and bring to bear on this issue?
And then finally, to return to a theme that we're going to be turning to often in this course, how does an invasive press that's covering this debate each and every day, that's revealing operations that are going on in Syria, that's reporting from the ground, often at great risk, how is that making the problem harder? Or in some cases, perhaps coming to a conclusion in some ways easier?
Well, these are all pretty tough questions, indeed painful, but let's get started.